Now, the brutal slaughter of civilians and 2 Reuters reporters had been covered up since 2007 until today. The military's response to the questions of the attack were that the attack occurred after security forces came under fire from men accompanying the reporters, and that the rules of engagement were followed in returning that fire. Reuters filed a Freedom of Information Act request to see the video footage, but was denied. And now, thanks to Wikileaks, we know the military's account was indeed false. But what does Wikileaks expect to happen now? Well, earlier I caught up with the co-founder of Wikileaks, Julian Assange, to see what he had to say. Julian, first of all, I want to thank you very much for sitting down with us. Now, the video here, it's very graphic, it's a very sensitive nature, and originally the military had claimed that they were following all rules of engagement when it came to this attack. The video would show otherwise. So what do we call this then?
We either call this an internal U.S. war crime or a war crime in the sense of the Geneva Conventions, or we say that there seems to be a problem with the rules of engagement or the judicial bodies within inside the U.S. military that are responsible for investigating and enforcing those rules.
It does seem like it would be a cover, but I think one of the things that for me was even more disturbing is listening to the audio track on this video here, and you listen to the soldiers and you hear them laughing, saying, ha ha, I got them. You hear them patting each other on the back, saying, nice shot. What does that say about war these days, too? Is it becoming almost like a video game?
Yeah, it's pretty clear that the soldiers involved, the pilots involved, have become debased by the war, and at some stage their experience turned into just playing a video game and getting high scores by killing people. In particular, there's an event where Saeed, one of the Reuters staff, is crawling, prone and wounded, of no threat to anyone, and there's also no hostile forces around him. And the pilots are saying, come on, buddy, just pick up a weapon. All you need to do is pick up a weapon. Because they know in the rules of engagement, that's all they need for them to kill him. But there's actually no military necessity for them to kill him. In fact, he would be, if he really was an insurgent, someone that should be interrogated for information. He might have valuable intelligence information. But they don't want to do that. They just want an excuse to kill.
I really want to know, what do you ultimately want to achieve with releasing this video today?
Well, we want to show people what war is really like now, what modern war is like. And this video includes very important elements of modern war. It shows you what the aerial interaction is like now with people on the ground. It shows you corruption or debasement of the pilots' characters and their involvement with the people on the ground. It shows you errors in the internal judicial mechanisms with the United States military. It shows you that reports about who is insurgent and who is not an insurgent that appear in the media following an event where people are killed cannot be trusted. It cannot be relied upon. And even internal reportage in the US military cannot be relied upon. There's examples in this video where a Hellfire missile is put into a building and a number of people are killed. They're alleged insurgents. They count that the bystanders on the outside who appear to have been killed, or at the very least grievously wounded, are not killed. And by default, everyone is counted as an insurgent until the press find evidence otherwise. And then there's a back track on the claims, but only once the press find proof otherwise.
But ultimately, do you want somebody to be held accountable here, someone in the military perhaps, for whoever covered it up, for whoever fired those shots? Or do you also want this to be a sign that the Wikileaks is like a new watchdog, that now Wikileaks is the place where you can go, where you can find the stories that the normal press won't show other people? You won't just take the story that the military offers you, you would rather look for the real information yourself.
That's right. We believe in releasing full source documents to the world, together with analysis to put them in contact and help people to understand them. Because the full source material is what helps keep journalism honest. That it's independently verifiable, it's independently checkable. Your assertions are checkable in the same way as a scientific paper is checkable if the full source material is released to the public. We hope that outside of that, this video is going to result not simply in the prosecutions of those pilots or their immediate commanders, but some higher level reform. Every action that those pilots take to kill people, they clear with their commanders first. They ask for permission to attack, to engage, and they get permission to attack and engage. And subsequently, there was investigation stimulated by Reuters' demands, which found that all those actions were acceptable and fell into the rules of engagement, and there should be no prosecution. So the problem is not just a few stray pilots. This is a systemic problem at the company level and in the rules of engagement.
But you have to assume that you will be attacked from many sides here, that you're going to have critics, that people are going to question the authenticity of this video. If the video was indeed encrypted, where did you get the technology to break it down, to unencrypt it? How do people know that really it is authentic?
We have actually broken quite a few things before. We also broke the password to NATO's master narrative for Afghanistan, which was progress. The video itself, there are multiple ways to see that it is authentic. These include statements by Reuters, local witnesses. They include material presented by a journalist from the Washington Post that was embedded with the ground units that came in afterwards, other aspects of the public record, and internal coherency in the video itself. So there is, and I in fact don't believe that there will be any claims that the video is not authentic.
So in that case, why did you decide to hang on to it for as long as you did? Because it isn't necessarily in the character of WikiLeaks to advertise something before you just put it up there, and yet you were tweeting about it, saying if anything happens to us, you know why. It's April 5th video. You held a press conference at the National Press Club. Why in this case did you do that?
We always spend time putting material into its context. Our commitment to our sources is not just to protect them, and we have never lost a source. It is not just to publish their material, it is to get the maximum political impact possible. That is our commitment. So some of that is needed in order to get the maximum impact for this. But we wanted to present something else. You know, this is an attack on one of our own. This is an attack on journalists trying to get the truth out. So I suppose we have felt an extra sort of camaraderie and a need to defend ourselves and our community by defending or exposing the attack on these journalists in Iraq. And of course, we should also consider that not just journalists died. In fact, a whole bunch of people died. A dozen people died.
Millions, children.
We have details on the civilians, and we have just gotten details on some people in the van. But for the other people, these are the nameless dead. They all have stories. We don't know what they are. They certainly all have families. And that is a long-term problem with war deaths that we don't really know what they are or who is involved. This is a case where we can see some of the people by virtue that they are journalists. And we also know for sure that the journalists aren't insurgents. They are doing their full-time job. So there can't be any claim that they were insurgents.
One last question very quickly. Do you expect this to be on the evening news everywhere tonight? Do you expect the Pentagon to issue an official reaction or statement?
They have not issued a statement yet when they have been questioned today. I do expect this will be on quite a few news channels. It is interesting that there hasn't been anything yet on US TV. However, NBC was at our press conference and did film it. So that will be quite interesting. I expect that TV channels all over the rest of the world will certainly play it. The particular angle that's taken in the US broadcast TV, I'm not sure about. I'd be quite surprised if there wasn't something on the networks other than, say, Fox. But will they put the full segment on? I'm not sure. Maybe just particular parts.
All right, Julian, I want to thank you very much for stopping by our studio and telling us more about this release of the video today.
You're welcome.